Everyone laughed on his eyes, but 10 years later they regretted it. They called him cursed before he could even speak. Emeka was born under a thunderstorm in a remote Nigerian village called Amuke. His mother, Ads, gave birth to him alone in their mud brick hut after her husband fled the delivery room upon seeing the child's eyes blue, glowing faintly even in the dark. The midwife screamed and crossed herself. "This is not a child," she said. "This is an omen." From that night, whispers followed me like a shadow. Kids refused to sit next to him at school. Elders told their children not to play with the boy who carries storms in his eyes. His own father never returned home. And though Adase loved her son fiercely, even she couldn't protect him from the village's scorn. When Amiya was 5, the school banned him from group photos. When he was 7, a market woman claimed her crop spoiled because he had walked past her stall. At 9, when the village's well dried up for 2 days, someone threw a rock through their window with a note, "Take your demon, child, and leave." But Emeka was no demon. He was kind, quiet, deeply curious. While others mocked him, Emeka found comfort in drawing. His mother would give him charcoal and scraps of paper from the back of the church, and he'd spend hours sketching trees, animals, and people from memory, always with piercing precision. His drawings weren't just accurate. They glowed with life, as though he saw things others didn't. Once his teacher peeked over his shoulder and gasped. Emeka had drawn a woman crying, with raindrops falling inside her house, but it wasn't raining. Later that day, the teacher received news. Her sister had died, and it had begun to rain during the funeral hundreds of miles away. "He sees truth," the teacher whispered. "Even the things hidden." That terrified people more. Adase tried to keep him safe. At night, she'd pull them close and whisper, "Your eyes are not a curse, my son. They're a key, but the world does not yet know which door you'll open." When Emeka turned 10, something terrible happened. A fire broke out at the village chapel. People said they saw a shadow moving through the smoke. One boy swore he saw blue lights inside the flames. It didn't matter that Emeka had been home that day, his mother ill, and he by her side. The rumor was enough. They came in the night, torches, shouting, stones. A man screamed, "He cursed the house of God. Drive him out." His mother stood at the door, arms spread wide. "If you take him," she said, "you'll have to go through me." They pushed her down. Emeka didn't scream. He didn't cry. He only looked up at the people he once called neighbors with eyes like shattered sky and walked away. He packed his sketchbook, a broken pencil, and the scarf his mother used to wrap his head as a baby. She clutched his hands, trembling. "Go," she said, "not because you are cursed, but because the world is too small to hold your light right now." He kissed her forehead and walked into the forest. That was the last she saw of him. Emeka wandered for days barefoot and hungry. He ate roots, drank from rivers, and slept under trees. In the city of Enugu, a man selling oranges offered him a job sweeping his stall. Emeka worked quietly and never complained. At night, he sketched under street lights. One evening, a customer left behind a magazine. It had a painting on the cover that made Emeka freeze. It was abstract, just color and movement, but to Emeka it looked like music had taken form. He read the caption, "Modern Vision, the Art of Seeing Emotion." From that day, he saved every narrow he earned. He bought paints from street vendors. He found cardboard boxes and trash bins and turned them into canvases. He painted at night behind the orange stall, his fingers blistered, his eyes shining. People started to notice. A photographer walking by asked to take a photo of his work. Emeka said nothing, just nodded. 2 weeks later, that photo appeared in an art blog in Lagos. Within a month, a gallery curator traveled over 200 miles to find the boy with the light storm eyes. "You didn't go to art school?" she asked. He shook his head. "I couldn't even finish regular school." But his work didn't need words to speak. By 14, he had his first exhibit. By 16, he was on a plane to France. His first time leaving Nigeria. The boy who was once cursed now stood in front of crowds explaining color theory through a translator. Yet through all the applause, one memory never left him. His mother's voice whispering hope into his soul. He never told anyone his full story. He let the art speak. But on the eve of his 20th birthday, Emma received a letter written, in trembling script. My son, if you still walk this earth, know that I kept your room exactly the same. The villagers now speak your name not with fear, but pride. Come home, if only once. I would love to see what those eyes have become. He folded the letter with care and looked out the window. He was going back to the place that cast him out to the people who once laughed. They had no idea what he was bringing with him. The plane touched down in Enugu just before dawn. Emeka stepped out into the warm air of Nigeria for the first time in nearly a decade. He had grown tall, elegant in posture, with dreadlocks pulled back, and a satchel of sketchbooks slung over one shoulder. A pair of tinted glasses veiled the storm behind his eyes. But inside, that storm still swirled, calmer now, focused. He didn't return with bitterness. He didn't want revenge. He returned with something bigger. As the car neared Amuke, the driver slowed down. Villagers lined the road, silent. Word had spread. They didn't cheer. They didn't bow. They just watched. Some with guilt, some with awe. Children who once threw stones now stood with their own sons pointing. That's him, one whispered. The boy with the sky in his eyes. Emeka asked to stop at the chapel first, the one that had burned all those years ago. It had been rebuilt, humbler, smaller. But there was something new on the wall outside. A mural, his mural, a woman in white holding a baby with blue eyes surrounded by light. Underneath it read, the one we feared became the one who sees. Tears welled in his eyes. When he arrived at his childhood home, Adie stood waiting at the gate. She was thinner, her hair gray now, but her eyes, those loving, defiant eyes, hadn't changed. They didn't speak at first. She just walked forward, placed her hand on his face, and whispered, "You've come home, my son." He broke. Years of silence cracked. They held each other like the earth itself might fall apart beneath them. That night, Amiya invited the entire village to the field near the chapel. A massive white tent had been set up there days earlier by his team, curators, coordinators, translators, but no one had told the villagers why. Under the tent were 20 giant canvases, each covered by a black veil. As the crowd gathered, Amiya stepped forward, removed his glasses, and looked them straight in the eyes for the first time. No one laughed. They stared in silence, many seeing their reflection in those pale glowing irises. He spoke softly. You feared me because I looked different. You called me names, drove me out, left scars you could not see. But I thank you because pain gave me purpose and purpose brought me vision. He turned to the canvases. One by one the veils were pulled away. The first showed the village mud walls, children barefoot exactly how it had looked when he left. The next showed a single mother shielding her child from fire. Another, a blue-eyed boy walking alone into a dark forest. The crowd murmured. Faces turned pale. But then came the shift. A painting of hands building together. A boy offering light from his palms. A village surrounded by color with smiles stitched into every detail. Each image told a part of the story. His story, their story. And at the center, one final canvas nearly 10 feet tall. A portrait of Ade's. Her face regal, illuminated by thousands of strokes. Around her flowed a river of children, black, brown, and pale, holding books, brushes, and dreams. The crowd stood still, then applause. First hesitant, then thundering. Some wept openly. An elder approached, knelt, and said, "We were wrong. Amiya, forgive us." Emeka nodded. "Forgiveness is a gift, but I didn't come back to give it. I came to give you something else." He stepped aside. Behind him, his team unveiled blueprints, the AMA Center for Vision and Voice, a state-of-the-art community arts and education facility funded entirely by Emma's foundation. It would offer free art programs, mental health support, and scholarships for gifted rural youth across Nigeria. Children would no longer be silenced for being different. They would be seen. They would be heard. The villages broke into cheers. Later that night, under stars that looked like brushstrokes, Ada sat beside her son, holding his hand. "You turned their fear into beauty," she said. He smiled. "You taught me how." The next day, a new boy walked through the village. He had vitiligo and wore a hoodie, eyes downcast. A group of kids pointed. One of them said, "Leave him alone. Don't you know what Emeka says? What makes you different is what makes you magic." The boy looked up. He smiled and somewhere in the distance the sky shimmered just a little bluer than usual. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button for more emotional, dramatic, and unexpected tales. And let us know in the comments where in the world are you watching from. We love hearing from all of you. Until next time, stay kind, stay curious, and keep watching.